Good morning and welcome to the 24/7. My name is Niharika Valia and I am with you with the era of ABFM. I hope I am audible as well as visible. Chaliye, let's begin with the class today. I'm going to talk about. Okay, it's all sorted. So let's begin with the class. What am I going to talk today? Another level of questions. Acha, this is the first question, everyone, for today. A warrant is a relatively dash option to buy dash at a predetermined exercise price over a specified period of time. Warrant. But then what happens in terms of a warrant? Sometimes I don't have the shares. I'll just say that I assure you that I will give shares to you. Okay? So when I assure you that I'll be giving shares to you, that is something that we'll find here. Right? So what's the correct answer when we look forward to this question? It says that a warrant is relatively dash option. Is it a long term or a short term option? Normally it's an assurance that we couldn't give you shares this time, but we'll give you shares another time. And with the shares, what are you going to get? You'll be getting shares of the company there. Hai na? Then that is what it is, a long term, and you'll be getting equity shares, not now, but in the upcoming future. It's not for the debentures, it's actually for equity shares, and it's for the long term. Okay? It can take more than a year, more than 2 years, 3 years, whatever the time period would be. Right? So in this case, the correct answer is long term as well as equity shares. Next question. What do you mean by preference shares, everyone? Preference shares are those shares which are other than equity. That's the particular definition you'll find in terms of company law. When we say, what do you mean by preference shares? Preference shares are hybrid financial products. Hybrid means it's a mixture of two things. But what is it made up of? Right? That's what we'll be talking about today. What is it that it would include? Preference shares are hybrid financial products with elements of debentures, equity shares, debentures and equity, and none of the above. When we talk about preference shares now, preference shares have been somehow competing with equity on the basis of two things. First, in terms of dividend, whatever happens, they want their dividend in any case. That's the first point. That in case of payment, before payment to equity, we'll pay to dividend. We'll pay dividend to the preference shareholders. That's number one. Then at the time of liquidation, they will get a particular preference over equity. That means these are the basic 2 points which differentiates preference from equity. But it makes it less risky as well. In this case, one particular thing that is there in terms of preference shares is it is less risky. Why? Because the preference shares provide a particular dividend. Normally, for example, if I talk about preference shares which are cumulative preference shares. Under cumulative preference shares, if you couldn't pay the dividend for 1 year, in the second year you will pay dividend for 1 as well as 2. It gets accumulated or it gets collected. That is what is there in terms of cumulative preferences. Overall, there are different kinds of preferences. So it has an element of debentures there, and it has an element of equity as well. That's what we call about in relation with the preference shares. Preference is called a hybrid because of this reason, because it includes both the equity as well as the debt. Debentures and equity. Green bonds are fixed income instruments whose proceeds finance new or existing green initiatives that qualify. Which one of the following activities is not covered by the green bond objectives? Efforts to combat air pollution, climate alteration, changes to demography, or extinction of species and depletion of natural resources. Green bonds are fixed income instruments. What are green bonds, everyone? The bonds which have been prepared for the purpose of the I would say, environment there. We are trying to save the environment. The basic purpose is that. That is why it is called a green initiative even. You know, these cover air pollution, climate alteration, then even extinction of species, but it doesn't really work upon demography. What do you mean by demography? Demography can be basically, okay, in my area, if there are more children, then the youth, or I can say the old people, there are more children there. That means the new generation is more. That is demography. In an area where women are more and men are less, that is also a demographical thing, right? So all these things are demographic features. That is not something the green bonds cover. They cover the scenario of uncertainty in terms of the I would say sustainable development is one point that it covers. Number two is, other than sustainable development, it covers the area of one is sustainable development, second is it studies the point of the climate change. There had been summits where they were actually talking about the global warming part as well. So all these things are what? These are not demographic based things. Demography is different. Acha, now comes ISO 32210. Sustainable finance principles and guidance. Is it environmental cost and benefits, monetary valuation of the environmental impacts, or none of the above? There are different ISO standards na, which had been issued with the particular purpose of the finances there. You know? So ISO 32210 stands for what? What does it stand for? It stands for Sustainable Finance Principles and Guidance. The correct answer is A. Next point. Which of the following equations will tell you whether or not all your projections, hypotheses, promotional strategies, and operational plans are internally consistent, realistic, as well as attainable? This is what the particular point says. Let me. Visible now, everyone? Is it assets is equal to liabilities plus equity? Then cost is equal to asset plus equity, equity is equal to liability plus inventory, or liability is equal to assets plus equity. Always remember, when we start a particular project now, it is based upon our money invested there plus the money which is which we receive from other people, right? So if we talk about this particular portion, how do we define it? We can define it using assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. How do we specify this? Obviously, when I started my business, I started with 10 lakh rupees. So I have assets worth rupees 10 lakhs, where liabilities are what? Liabilities are basically something which I can specify. Liabilities are 10 lakh is the total assets that I would have bought off, which are which we take from others. That's a burden on the company. If we talk about equity, this is owners funds. These are owners funds, and these are outsiders funds. Okay, na? And these two make up the assets of the organization. Okay, next question is again a little longer question. So let me just help you out with that. This is a question related to mergers and acquisitions, everyone. Right? So let me explain it to you. It is increasingly common for mergers and acquisitions M&A transactions to contemplate deferred contingent payments to sellers as a part of consideration when the buyer and the seller cannot agree on the value of a target company. This type of payment, which is contingent upon the happening of the certain event or achieving of preset targets, such as meeting a post transaction earnings goal, is known as contingent liability, deferred payment arrangement, contingent asset, or earn outs. We are talking about mergers and acquisitions, everyone. In this case, there's a deferred contingent payment that acha we'll be making the payment to you, but a little later. A part of the consideration when the buyer and seller cannot agree the value of the target company. Sometimes you cannot find out the value, so you make a little postponement of things. This type of payment, which is contingent upon the happening of the events or achieving of preset targets, the targets which are already set there as meeting as post transaction earning goals, is known as contingent liability, deferred payment, contingent asset, or earnouts. It is earnouts. The answer is earnouts. Okay? Next point. The worth of an asset can be determined by analyzing its pricing in relation to the pricing of comparable assets. What we do is, I try to compare my value with your values. Acha, what is the value of my company? Okay. What is the value of your company? I'm going to ask that particular thing from you. No? So then pricing of comparable assets in terms of the common variable such as earnings, we'll be comparing each other in terms of earnings, cash flow, the book value, or sale, is known as discounted cash flow, relative valuation, or contingent claim valuation, or free cash flow valuation. Achha, when we talk about poverty, na, when I was a kid, I used to remember poverty like that. Poverty was based upon two things. Pata hai? Poverty had absolute poverty. That means anybody who was below poverty line, they were absolutely clearly defined as poor. But the people who were basically relatively poor, if I compare him with the other person, then he's poorer than the other person. That is what we define in this portion. So when we talk about relativity in this case, it is basically what? The relative position is basically relative valuation. When you try to compare your situation with another organization. For example, I have a house which is facing a park. My house is facing a park. Now the point is, if my house is facing a park, then there is another house which is also facing a park, and they sold their house for 1.5 crore. Now what I'll do is, first of all, I'll find, Achha, what are the differences? Both of us had 3-story. We both of us had 3-story. Now, did he had a big balcony? Okay, they had also big balcony. We also have a big balcony. But the difference is, our construction is new, their construction is old. So my house would be costing more than that. So the valuation of my house should be at least 2 crores. Right? Because we have got all the renovations done. So in this case, what am I doing? I am comparing with a similar house with a similar place. Okay? That is what we define as relative valuation. Next, close supervision, control of subordinates, centralization of authority, autocratic leadership styles are features of need hierarchy, two-factor theory, theory X, or theory Y. When we define the close supervision, control of subordinates, then centralization of authority there. See, the point is, you are keeping an eye on that person every single moment. What is he doing? What he's not doing? What is his basic way of working? What is he exactly doing with the organization? What is the task that he's doing? Everything is under our control, and I don't believe him. I am like, अरे मेरे को तो लगता है this the person doesn't work at all. I am going to keep an eye on him in any case when you are questioning that particular person, because you know that person doesn't work when you are not looking at him. What kind of theory is it? Need hierarchy doesn't really cover that. Abraham Maslow didn't say it. He had said that there is a sequence of working. Two-factor theory talks about we get this particular thing in terms of two-factor theory, that in terms of two-factor theory, how do we work? Two-factor theory clearly says when you are working with the people there, the two-factor theory says that whenever you are working, there are two things. There are dissatisfiers and the motivation factors. So one thing is the things that dissatisfies me. If the lighting is not good, that would dissatisfy me. It will not motivate me to take the class. And I'll be like, "Array, there's good lighting. Let's take a class here." No, I'll take a class because not because I am having good lighting. But if there is no good lighting, good, well, be like, "Array, it is making so much stress on my eyes. I cannot work like this." Now it can be a dissatisfier, but motivator, motivator would be career advancement. That is two-factor theory. Then we have theory X and theory 5. Can you see this? There are two persons there, X and Y. X looks like a no already, and Y looks like a yes already. So basically, this person is a negative, lazy person who says, "Arey, I don't want to work." He's demotivated. Anytime if nobody's looking, he'll be chilling alone. He won't work. That is what we call it as theory X. Okay? It's called theory X. Next point, dash flows from the lower level management to the top level management. Authority, responsibility, centralization and decentralization. But there are two things. Authority goes from top to bottom. I have the authority to make someone work. I'll say, I'm giving you a little power of mine so that you can work on your own as well. Centralization is keeping the power at the center. My power is my power. You cannot do anything. You have to ask me every time you're doing it. Decentralization is, sir, I cannot work on my own. It's obvious. I need people to work with me. So I'm giving you some power, I'm giving you some power, I'm giving you some power. So basically, when you give the power to multiple levels, it's called decentralization. So then, what is responsibility? If I said that, sir, you have to finish this work by this point of time, and that particular person is answerable to me, they are responsible for what I've given to them now. That is what we call it as responsibility. So he'll be answering his senior. So in this case, the correct answer is B, responsibility. Okay? Done, everyone? Next question. Which one of the following methods is included in off-the-job training? Off-the-job means, in this case, you are not doing the job. You are just dealing with the particular training. Coaching, role-playing, apprenticeship training or vestibule training. Coaching is that particular person stays with that particular person with whom he's providing training to. He's with that person. For example, in Olympics, role playing is basically I give you a situation. What if you are the manager and this happens? That is role playing. Apprenticeship training is given to the electricians, the skilled workers there, I would say. They learn their skill while being on the job. In vestibule training is basically I'll be taking you on a separate situation. I'll be putting you with a dummy. I'll be providing you with a dummy thing, and you'll say this is a dummy machine. This is very similar to the original machine. You work on it. It's actually not a dummy. It's a pilot machine, which is copy of the original in a smaller manner, so that you learn the work and then come. In this question, now there are 2 points. B as well as D. Both are called off-the-job training. But role playing is like I'll be just making you sit and say, what if this happens? What if that happens? So in this case, the answer is role playing. Okay? Okay. So before I end my session today, we're done with role playing. You can take up our CAIIB courses right away, because currently, as you can see, we have got 2 batches already. One is CAIIB 2023, that is for the June, and if you're looking forward towards November, then November batch is also there. If you're preparing right now, then CAIIB revision batch has started. My classes have already started. I teach at 7 p.m. For the revision batch, the first chapter is started. Module A is the starting. If you're looking forward towards a revision in a proper manner, then why not join the batch there, right? The timings are ABM is there. Then we have BFM, ABFM as well as BRBL. All the classes and their timings have been specified there itself. At what point of time our classes are starting, right? So what you can do is you can use the code PREP78, everyone. You can use the code PREP78. You can apply it and it will give you 3519.78. 3500, and that too the validity is for 2 months. That means you have ample of time. But the point is, if you're looking forward towards, for the first time you're preparing and you're like, I want to give this attempt, I don't want to waste this attempt, go ahead. And if you feel that you would like to continue for a longer period, you would like to focus on only one particular subject this time and you will be focusing on others later on, to clear the examination. Many people do that. So if you're looking forward to that, then why don't you spend your money on the Mahapack? If you are buying CAIIB Mahapack, you get double validity test for 1 year. Number one, all the electives are covered. That means for electives, you don't really have to create a first there. You can study on your own. Then 500 hours of classes, 88 test series, 871 videos, 130 ebooks are there. All you need is there in the ebooks, right? So this is what you can take up. What are you waiting for if you're looking forward to it? Because you can check out the electives there. You can choose which particular elective you would like to choose, or what is the best one. For the ones who are just about to start or the ones who have already started, you can pursue with the CIB electives as early as possible, because you will be finding all the videos there. Plus our previous batches that have ended is also available in this. Plus the current going batches are also available. Plus the coolest point is it not only includes the English medium but also the bilingual batches. That means it is your call, whatever you want to attend, whatever is going on in terms of on our portal, everything is open to you. There is no restriction, there is no point where you will be scared about the fact that, hey, what should I do? Everything is open for you. So if you're looking forward to it, then what are we waiting for? All you can do is you can use the code PREP78, PREP78, and apply it, and it will give you 6809. So kindly hurry up and check it out on our website.